Hi, I'm Cherie Brown, and I am the Interdisciplinary Coordinator, and I am recording the webinar that we just had, IEM Tech Tips for IEM Families. And there were some technical difficulties, so I decided that I would re-record the information and try to answer all the same questions for all those of you who were hoping to watch the recording at a later time. So I'm going to turn off my webcam and get started. All right, so we're going to start with Google, and we're going to look at Google for IEM Families. And my hope in the first part of this webinar is to talk about creating an account, looking at Chrome, drawings, docs, and spreadsheets. But first, why would we want to create a Google account? It's important to think about what it is, first of all. Google is not just email. That is, it has expanded to include applications such as Google Docs, Google Presentations, Google Sheets, Google Slides, and all kinds of other wonderful tools for students. And you could think of it as a hard drive in cyberspace. It's where a lot of your information is stored. You have access to it from anywhere, from any computer, as long as you have internet access, and you have access to it anytime, not just when you're at the computer. You can be on your phone, mobile device, anywhere, any place. So to create a Google account, you would log into any browser. It doesn't matter if you are in Chrome, if you're in Firefox, or if you're in Internet Explorer. And really, the simplest way is just create the words, create a Google account, and it will come up. Once you have that, you will have access to files on any device, such as mail. You'll also have docs, spreadsheets, so on and so forth. Now, I recommend creating a Google account for your family, a separate account, not just sharing one with your children. And the benefit of that is that they have their own files stored separately from your files. Now, if you don't use Google for anything other than just random ideas, and it just would be for all of you in that case. The thing is that when they log in, though, that they could switch to your mail app and they could read your mails and things like that. So that is the benefit of having a Google Family account, is that it's a little bit separate from your own information. If you do that, I do recommend putting the mail portion of that Google account on your mobile device so that you can check it and you can monitor it. We also want to make sure we talk about how to share today. That's really important, the share settings in Google. That's a huge piece to what makes Google so wonderful. And I'm going to talk about getting the share link, editing, commenting, and viewing. And I'm going to actually show you some of those things. The next thing I want to talk about is Google Chrome. Now, Chrome is a browser. It's different than Firefox or Internet Explorer. And one of the things that makes Chrome special or unique is that you can actually set it up with various users so that you could have one Chrome account linked to you in your email and all of your information, and your students could have another account linked to their information and create special bookmarks and things like that. And that's what I want to jump in and show you how to do right now. So let me end my slideshow for just a second, and I'm going to log in my Google Chrome and show you how to do that. So right here, these are some of the things that we've been working on. You'll see here's my Google Chrome. And to create a user, you go over here to the little, you can just barely see this hopefully, the settings tool. And you'll go down to settings. And then you'll notice it has this idea where you can add people. And so you add a person, and you type in their name, and then you click add. And when you do that, it will actually take you to a screen. Let me grab a picture of that because I don't really want to add another person to my account. I'm going to pull this down so you can see it. So it will actually pull in and ask you to set up Chrome to connect to their username and email address. And then what it does is any bookmark that's added, any bookmark that or file or folder or anything like that would then be saved up here in the bookmark bar. And so you can see I have some folders. We're not going to talk about how do you organize them neatly, but I have my go-to. I listen to Pandora music. My children like to use Lexia Core 5. It's a wonderful tool, learning tool, Dreambox Learning. I also at one point, I think down here over here, I have Usborne links for Usborne encyclopedias so that my students and my children can just quickly hop on and get what they need without trying to remember how to find it. It's a really wonderful tool that Google offers us. The next thing I want to talk about is using Google Drive. So I have it tabbed open right here, but let's suppose you're on a new computer and you haven't used that computer before. And so how do you get to your Google account? So to get to your Google account from just about anywhere, I'm trying to get a guest browser so I can show you. So here I am browsing as a guest, and I want to go to my Google Drive. So I just do Google account, and I want to sign in. And now you just sign in. You can sign into your account wherever you are, and I'm going to sign into my personal account. And hope that I can remember my password. And I also suggest if you're on a computer that's not yours to unclick that Stay Signed In. And here we go. So now you'll notice I have this little apps icon over here on the side, and that's how I can get to all those wonderful Google apps. And I'm going to go to Drive. And Drive is my launching pad. I use my Google Drive like I would my Google hard drive. From there, I can create a new anything. I can create a new Google Doc, a new Google Sheet, a new Google Slide. And these things do what you think they would do. A Google Doc is like word pressing, Google Sheets is a spreadsheet, Google Slides is a presentation. But I want to start with going to Google Drawings. And Google Drawings is a wonderful tool for young students to get used to using Google with. And they can draw things, they can, I know a lot of the elementary math standards involve using composite shapes where, maybe they might want to create a house so they can draw a rectangle and then a triangle. It's a really wonderful opportunity to talk about how shapes together can make a new figure. And I have a website called edtechmentor.org, and I have given some information. I have a little video that I created on how to use Google Drawings and some ideas on how to really use it to benefit your students and maximize their learning, from creating number lines and timelines to creating annotated documents. So check that out at edtechmentor.org. It's a great way to get into Google Drawings. The next thing I want to talk about is Google Docs. And again, I'm recording what already took place, but I want to talk about some of the great features in Google Docs. So for example, let's suppose your student is writing a paper on Christopher Columbus. One of the great things with Google Docs is you can highlight it and then right click or two-finger click on a Mac, which it didn't work that time. Let's try that one more time. For some reason, it's not cooperating. There we go. And we have some options that come up. Yes, you can comment on it, suggest some things. We'll talk about that in a minute. But you can research. When you click on research, it actually over here on the side gives you information about Christopher Columbus. It'll show you that I just created a doc about him just a few minutes ago, and I had a drawing that I created about him a couple of days ago. But also it gives us more information. So it gives us some websites. And someone asked on the recording, how are these filtered? And, I don't know the exact information. I haven't come across anything yet that's questionable. Generally speaking, you do have to go through some criteria to end up on Google's search list. It's not random. And also when you are setting up your Google account for your student, you can go into your settings and create some special information for them. Remember, that was the little bar over here, and you go to settings and you get all this information that you can begin to, if it loads up, to create for your students. It gives you the way to manage their search engines and things like that. So I suggest doing that if you're concerned about safety for your student. Another great feature too on this research is it just quickly drags and drops. And now the thing I also like about that is you'll see these are pretty good, accurate search results, right? So you're not seeing anything too questionable coming up under Christopher Columbus that you would be concerned about your student versus going into the Google and searching images. You're not going to come up with such clear linked information. You might come up with some questionable things. So there's another reason to use that research tool right here in Google Docs. And it's in Google Spreadsheets, I believe, and I know for sure it's in Google Slides as well. Another neat feature is that when you highlight, it also gave you the option to define, well, I already know Columbus doesn't have a word, so let me define something a word that a student might not know, air, to air. Let's look up the definition of that. So look, it says define air. And over here, it gives you some information. It tells you it's a verb. It gives you some information, gives you synonyms and things like that. The synonyms is a wonderful way to help improve your students' writing, to use this idea of synonyms instead of going to the thesaurus and looking it up. It gives it to you right here by right-clicking on the word. To name it, you actually just click right here in the box, and you can rename this document. I named it my first word. And then I also wanted to talk about share settings. So over here you have share settings, and right now this document's only something I can see, but I can share it. I can share it in a lot of ways. I could get the shareable link, which then gives me the option to send this link out to where anybody that gets this link can view it. Or they can edit it, they can comment it, and there's more. Also, I guess anyone can view it. I can directly, let me change that. I don't want anybody I'm going to go back to off. I don't want everybody to have access to it. I just want my ES, for example, to have access to that. So I'm going to type my ES's name right here. I'm going to say, you know what, my ES, I'm not sure what I want them to change it. They can comment on it. And then I send them a note. Here you go. And I send it. And now you'll see it says shared. The little share icon changes over here. So I can see it shared with one person, and I can click on it again if I forget who that was. Oh, it's shared with Cherie Brown. And so that gives you some wonderful privacy. You know who has it, who can see it. The whole wide world does not have this link. You might have opened up some of our links where we accidentally didn't change the share settings correctly, and maybe you had to request permission. So you know that we can keep things private so that the whole world doesn't have access to it. The next thing I want to talk about is Google Sheets. And I know our high school students, some of them are working with what we call subject matter experts, and they're asking for gradebooks. And using Google Sheets for your gradebook is a wonderful tool. But you can use it just as a parent to create an assignment sheet. So you might say, right here is my topic, and maybe I want to tell them what book to use. And I might use another heading, it might be what pages to go to. And maybe I want my student to tell me if they're done. And then here I record the grade that I gave them. And this just creates a really nice, neat place for you to have all your information. Now, if you have one account and your student has another account, you can share it just with your student, or maybe your student and your ES. Oh, what's the name? And I can share it with my ES, or I can share it with my student, and we can all type on it at the exact same time. Everyone can edit this document collaboratively. Your student could type done. You would know, okay, I need to go grade this assignment. I need to look at their stuff. Now, I know that sometimes when you want to sit next to your student and you're looking at works with them, but there's times when you do things when they're not sitting there right there, or maybe they're at soccer practice and you're grading their work. That reminded me of one thing that I didn't talk about in this video recording, is that there's another feature about Docs that I want to point out, and it's in a lot of your different programs. Microsoft Word, for example, has this. It's this editing mode, and if you click on this box right here, you can actually change it to suggesting mode, and this is great to do as a parent if you're helping your student improve their writing. You might say, look for a longer adjective. Now notice that over here is it's adding it. It's not really keeping it there. And if your student gets that comment, they can then delete it and be done with it. They reject it. They don't have to add that, but they could do what you suggested. You can also cross off something like, you used that word way too many times, so I'm going to delete it. And it says you delete it. They can accept your idea or they can reject your idea. And you can add some comments right here on the reply as well, giving them more information. And this is a great way. Maybe you haven't had time to sit down with your student and talk about their writing, or maybe you really want to get them to think about it. And so you want to give them a couple tips in their writing so they can come in and make the adjustments appropriately. So now we've talked about Google Drive, talked about how to get to it from just about anywhere. We talked about our sheets. We talked about our documents, talked about drawings. The last one I want to talk about is slides. And again, I always go back to my Drive. I start here and I go from Drive, and I want to create a new slideshow. And last year, I worked with students from kindergarten up through 12th grade, and they all created a slideshow at the beginning of the school year called Summer Scoop, and all of them thoroughly enjoyed it. From my youngest students who got images from their computers to my older students who took pictures specifically just for the slideshow. I'm just going to show you how to put an image very quickly. You click on that little image icon. Most kids are pretty quick to recognize that's an image icon. And you can upload it from your computer. Choose an image to upload. You can take a picture of yourself right here facing yourself. You could go to your Google Drive, which most of us don't have pictures stored there, or you can search on the internet. So those are your options. If you know the URL, I don't use that one too often, you can insert images. Now, someone asked during the webinar, do I think that Google will replace Microsoft? No, I don't. Microsoft costs money. It's expensive, and it's expensive because it has more features to it. The animations in the Microsoft is much more robust. The doc has more features. The table of contents, for example, if I'm writing a long paper, I use Microsoft Word because of the table of contents features. So definitely there are some benefits to using Google Docs. It's free. It allows all students access to it, but it is not the end all be all to word processing for our students. I'm trying to recall some of the other questions that were asked. I think I've covered most of the questions that were asked about that. Oh, yes, another one that was asked was about will IEM be giving out Google Apps for Education to our students? Those specific accounts. Yeah, a lot of schools are creating a Google Apps for Education accounts for their students. It's called GAFE, and it's wonderful. It creates some privacy for students. However, it's something that needs to be manned. It requires a lot of foresight, a lot of thought, a lot of organization, and it's something that cannot be rolled out haphazardly. So it's something we're discussing. It's not something that we have decided we will or will not do. It is something that's just kind of it's on the table. It's something that has to be thought out to be done well. And if we roll it out, we want to do it well. And so I don't know. It might be, it might not be. We might find that we don't use it enough for our students to warrant the manpower and the requirements to get that going. All right. So one of the other items that was asked about was Schoology. So someone had asked in the presentation, well, how do you connect Schoology with Google? So I'm going to go to Schoology, and I'm going to show you how to log into Schoology. I just type Schoology, and there we go. We come to our login. And I'm logged in as a student. And I just realized that it memorized my information because I had logged in earlier in Schoology. So I didn't get to go through all the process of showing you how to use your school name. And so I think I'm going to go back and see if I can try that one more time, but I don't think it's going to let me do that. I logged right into my student. On our website, we do have videos on how to log in, but here is your home screen. And Schoology is what we call a learning management system, and that was something that we talked about in the webinar. A learning management system is a way to organize digital material, and you can imagine that with all these different online textbooks, we have Google Docs, we have word processing documents, different ways that students turn in all this digital material. There needs to be a way to organize that information. To have teachers with, let's say just 30 students sending 30 emails in one day with all their material would be really difficult to organize. and then to grade, and then to return to their students. So there are many learning management systems out there. We have adopted Schoology. It is a very robust, and it's actually a very user-friendly learning management system for both students and teachers. So I find it to be, it takes some time to get used to, but once you get used to it, hopefully everybody will really enjoy Schoology. It's not just for high school students. Elementary school students are using it across our nation. And here at IEM schools, we might start seeing our ESs sharing information and resources using Schoology with their students, showing them how to log in and then how to get that information. So over here on the left column, we have our recent activity, grades, calendars, messages. In the middle, we have kind of that main resource of information. And on the right-hand side, we have kind of overdue and upcoming assignments. Let's take a look at a course. So this one right here, orientation for students, the join code, let me pause for a second and highlight that. And every student has a Schoology account. Whether you have a young student or a high school student, you have a Schoology account if your acceptable use policy has been turned in. And to log in, just do the information that I talked about, contact your ES for your username and password. So this join code is really important. If you haven't joined this course, please do. And I'm going to show you what it looks like. I have created different resources for students to work with to find out how to participate in a discussion, how to take an online test, how to check your grades, and more information will come. How to create a Google account is in here, completing assignments is in here, and I will be happy to add more information as you have questions. So please let me know and I can create the material for that. So let's talk about how to turn in an assignment. So this particular course just has information. It really doesn't have any assignments. So let me go to one that does. I have a sandbox course, where it's kind of like to play in the sand. It's an IT term. And I'm going to show you how to turn in an assignment. So I'm going to go to this month in history. And it's got lots of assignments I've already created before. But if I already have something created, I can turn in another one. They call it resubmit. But if it's nothing is here, the only difference is it would just say submit assignment. So I'm going to submit my assignment. Now I've got options for submitting assignments. I can upload something from my computer, and you'll see right here, it has the word file. When I hover over it, that takes me to all the files on my computer. I can choose one and click open, and it'll upload. I can make an audio video recording. I can talk and record myself. I could just add some comments as well. I can create something from scratch, and you could type something. Just like it's a rich text editor, it's just like working on Google Docs. You can center, you can move things around, you can strike through, you can color, you can do all kinds of different things. The only downside, and the reason why I don't necessarily suggest this particular mode, is if your internet fails or you leave it too long and you go do something else, you could lose all that information. And I know this from experience. I had a college assignment that I had done this way and lost all my material, and it was really discouraging because I couldn't remember what I had done. Now I'm going to talk about Google. So Google is a resource. It is not part of Schoology. It's a separate resource. So you click resource to get to your Google. Google is an app. So I click app. And now it says Google Drive. And it's going to start listing my folders and files that are in Google Drive. It is not in alphabetical order. It's in the order that you last touched it or opened it, which actually I should see my Christopher Columbus here. I don't know why that didn't come up. But let's suppose you're in Schoology and it's wanting to connect to your personal Google Drive as the parent, but you want to connect to your student's one. So you go to Options and Account Setting, and you can change which one. Now, they put school account here because a lot of people who are using Schoology also are using Google Apps for Education, so it connects to their student's school account. But like many of us, students have multiple Google accounts, so they can choose a different account to connect to, and that's how you get to that. Click Connect, and now it's going to look and check to see, can you really do that? Is that okay with you? And it's nice because it double checks. Do you want to do that? And so I'm going to cancel because I don't really want to connect it. And I'm just going to show you how to upload an assignment. So I'm going to click this one. I'm going to go Import, and I'm going to import it. You'll notice import and upload. They're used fairly interchangeably. It's pretty much the same concept. You're uploading something into the internet, or in this case, we're importing it into Schoology. And now my assignment's there. And my teacher can come in. They can see that I've turned that in. Um, and that's all there. Now I want to talk about grades. So you'll see over here on the left-hand column, I have my grades. So as a student, I can check my grades. How am I doing? So right here, I see, okay, I turned in this discussion. I got a 0. I can actually go to the comments and see why I got the 0. I turned in Y grammar. I got another 0. This teacher doesn't like me. I uploaded my grade book. Good, I got a 10 out of 10. These little paper icons mean that I turned it in. So you'll see this one, it says I turned it in. In fact, we were just doing that, but it hasn't been graded, and that's what the asterisk there means. So as a student, you can tell I did turn it in. That's the little paper icon, but it hasn't been graded. And that's nice because then you don't have to go back and check to see. So one way, if you want to know, do I have any upcoming assignments, is to go to your grades and see, all right, these are my due dates. To list the due dates. And this is what I haven't turned in yet, the asterisks. There's nothing there. So if it's got a paper, remember, that means I turned it in. It just hasn't been graded. So there's some really nice tips about working in your Schoology account if you are of a class in Schoology. Later on, we'll talk more about Big Blue Button later on in the year, and that will also be in the orientation course as well as Turnitin information. So some of the other questions, I've actually been answering a lot of the questions that were phrased during the webinar about Schoology. Again, it is not just for high school students, it is for everyone, and we're developing some materials that everyone would want to use so that everybody would want to be a part of Schoology and our digital learning management system. All right, so here's our home. And someone else had asked a question about grading and who grades. And really that's between the ES, the SME, and the parent who grades the material. It is possible for teachers to grade things, as you saw right there in Schoology. And but who's responsible for that is in each of the classes. All right, so I think we've covered almost everything that was asked during the webinar. And I'm just looking up, there we go. So I'm going back to my main screen and just want to follow up and record this. Hopefully it's recording correctly and I won't have any more technical difficulties. I'm going to get better each time I create this webinar, right? So thank you all for listening to this recording. I hope that it's been useful and helpful. Send me information if you join that orientation course and you have some items that you feel in the Schoology that need to be addressed. I am happy to find those resources for you. So please just let me know. Again, this is Cherie Brown, and I'm the Interdisciplinary Coordinator. Thank you for joining our webinar today, and be looking for some coming up. We have one coming in November on Homeschooling 101. We have another one coming up in December on math, and we have another one in early spring on preparing for high school for all those of you who are in that 6th, 7th, and 8th grade shoes, and you're waiting to see, what do I do for high school to get my students ready? Thank you again for being a part of this webinar, and I hope you have a great day.